Hello there everybody, Bunneh here, and I'd like to tell you all a story. A story revolving around one central recurring character, spanning over the course of 4 years now. A story about the sneakiest, thieviest, lock-pickiest, pickpocketiest, obnoxious tailiest, fastiest thief in all of the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm talking about the one, the only, Chichichicheetah and his trusty sidekick Boondock. Now I recognize that some of you watching right now will not know who Chichichicheetah is, or perhaps you've forgotten given the span of time that's passed since the last video, so allow me to enlighten you. Chichichicheetah is a vampiric nightblade Khajiit with a long obnoxious tail. He's kind of got a thing for gold, and his thieving empire had been immensely successful at one point in time. Keyword, had been. You see, a lot has changed in ESO since the last time that I played, and apparently all of my old thieving gimmicks have ran their course. Conventional pickpocketing, treasure hunting, and resource harvesting just doesn't quite cut it anymore in terms of making gold. But hey, that's the nature of the beast. ESO is a constantly evolving MMO, and I'm massively behind a curve of updates. With all of these changes comes the never-ending need for in-game gold to keep up with the latest trends. That, my dear viewers, is where our mischievous little feline friend comes in. I spent a lot of time sifting through all these new content updates to craft Chichichicheetah into the perfect master thief once again. A thief capable of pulling in steady streams of reliable money, or with a bit of luck, pulling in some items worth millions of gold. Now every time I've made one of these videos, I got boatloads of comments asking for the gear setup, champion points, relevant skills, passives, and PC add-ons, so this time around I've taken the liberty of condensing all of this information into a short segment at the end of this video. Feel free to skip ahead using the timestamp in the description to see my current build. Also, quick disclaimer, all of the clips you're about to see took place over several weeks of recording and didn't exactly happen in the order I'll be presenting you. For instance, I was acquiring some of the items I'll be talking about while leveling up companions, while scribing abilities, so if there seems to be any inconsistencies between clips, it's because there is. But I think the way I've formatted this video will make for a much better viewing experience. Plus, it's my channel and I'll make whatever the fuck. So first things first, I had to buy the latest Gold Road expansion. This would give me access to the newest zone Westweld, some of the items I was going to need, companions, and the scribing system. Like I mentioned before, simply pickpocketing and treasure hunting wasn't going to cut it anymore in this economy, and something had to change. I needed different gear. I needed different tactics. I needed a completely different approach to the way I had been thieving. So that's exactly what I set out to accomplish. I started by transmuting my Darlock braid jewelry to the Swift trait. I knew that I was going to be ditching the Ring of the Wild Hunt in lieu of ESO's newest thieving-specific mythic item, and this trait would help offset the loss of movement speed that I was about to sustain. Speaking of which, so it came to my attention that a new thieving-specific mythic item was introduced since the last time that I played, that item being the Shadow Queen's Cowl. This thing seemed fucking incredible, and I couldn't wait to get my little tiny cat paws on it. Now, like any mythic item in ESO, the process for acquiring this thing was convoluted as hell. It required 5 different leads from 5 different sources all across Tamriel. Now, Chichichicheetah is an incredible thief, one might say the greatest that has ever lived, but a fighter he is not. I decided to switch over to my main DPS character for a lot of this grind, which explains the following clips. The first lead was the Crowcaller's chapbook, which was a random drop from the stupid bird thing in Northern Elsewhere's public dungeon. Oddly enough, I got this thing on my first kill, which was extremely lucky and I hope was a positive sign that the rest of this grind was going to be easy. After seeking out the second lead of Gloamian Rivets in Somerset, I realized that the rest of this grind was not going to be easy. After multiple, painstaking, brutal attempts at completing these Abyssal Rifts solo, I finally managed to get the lead to drop. The third lead of Huntsland's Blessed Leather dropped off the world bosses in Westweld, and if you thought that last grind looked painful, you have no fucking idea. These world bosses were definitely not meant to be soloed, and believe me when I say that this was a painful endeavor. I died so many times that I'm still having wartime flashbacks from the ordeal. But fortunately, after many attempts, multiple broken pencils because fuck those stupid pencils, and a few glasses of Guinness to calm my nerves, I eventually got the lead to drop. The fourth lead of Penumbra Oil dropped in the Moongrave Fane dungeon. I was originally concerned about this one because dungeon leads can sometimes take forever to acquire, but I was fortunate enough to get it on my first run. Lastly was the shadowy Creatia Stitching that dropped off this Delve boss in Westweld. It took a few kills to get, but all in all this grind was one of the easiest. Now that I had all of the leads I needed, I had to scry and excavate all of them to build the mythic item. If you're unfamiliar with this process, it goes something like this. Go to the zone where the lead is located, scribe for the lead by solving this little minigame, discover the location marked on your map, and excavate said location through another minigame. All in all, this part was pretty relaxing, and before I knew it, I was staring at this freaking sweet new mythic item. Before I even equipped it, I changed the trait on it to Divines, as it would further buff my Mundus Stone buff of the steed to further offset the movement speed I was about to lose. While I had reservations about losing some movement speed at first, all of that went away the moment I equipped this bad boy. This headpiece highlights all nearby witnesses and guards, making pickpocketing and stealing from lockboxes that much easier. Guards even have this red glow about them if I have any heat from recently getting caught, which only further helps to, well, not get caught. There's also the added benefit of stunning an NPC on a successful pickpocket, and reducing their detection radius by a ridiculous amount for a short time. Regardless of what path I chose to take Chichichicheetah on, this headpiece was a clear and definitive winner over the Ring of the Wild Hunt. But surely nothing else could possibly make my thieving endeavors more efficient or profitable, right? Ah, companions, a system I never thought I would give two ducks about. That is, until I discovered the benefits of having them. You see, when you have a companion with you, you gain access to a unique passive effect specific to that companion. For instance, if I was to have Bastion out, he would offer a 30% chance to improve potions looted from monsters. While that doesn't sound all that useful to my thieving cause, there were 4 companions whose passive abilities would benefit me, those being Miri, Tanlerin, Azander, and Ember. Miri's passive offers a 30% chance of finding a hidden treasure bag inside of treasure chests or from treasure maps. These bags can offer blueprints, additional gold, junk items that can be sold for gold, or even set items from the zone I'm looting in. Tanlerin's passive offers additional time to pick locks, a 5% increased chance to force locks, and a reduced chance to break lockpicks. Azander's passive offers the chance of finding research portfolios when looting containers. These portfolios can contain junk items that can be sold for gold, treasure maps, counterfeit pardons, and most importantly, recipes or blueprints. Now I slept on Azander at first, thinking he'd be the least useful companion of the bunch, but I was wrong. I was very, very wrong. But we'll get into that later on. And finally, Ember's passive offers the chance of finding hidden wallets while pickpocketing NPCs, which can be looted for additional gold. There's also Keldora, who's not actually a companion and has no additional benefits, but she's a nasty-ass cougar who brings me Guinness. Plus, she's got an incredible puss. Now initially I thought that Ember's passive would be the most useful, as raking in additional gold for no extra work sounded great on paper, but after doing a little bit of research, I became somewhat discouraged. Apparently, these hidden wallet drops count towards the maximum number of times you can pickpocket an NPC, that being 3. While that doesn't sound all that bad at first, it's actually a net gold loss in the long run. Let's say, for instance, that I was to pickpocket an NPC 2 times, and on the 3rd time, hypothetically speaking, I would have pulled a valuable blueprint, or even a more valuable item that I could have sold for gold. But RNG dictates that that final pickpocket will be a hidden wallet instead. More than likely, the gold contained in that hidden wallet is less than the gold I would have received from a normal pickpocket, therefore I'm actually losing money. That is, unless I was to unlock Ember's Keepsake. Keepsakes are unlockable, permanent versions of a companion's passive ability. Once it's acquired, it's active all of the time, across my entire account, even if I don't have the companion out with me. Acquiring all 4 of these companions' keepsakes would not only drastically improve my thieving capabilities from all the benefits I mentioned before, but with Ember's in particular, it would end up being an upgrade instead of a nerf. For some reason, her keepsake offers a 4th obtainable pickpocket from an NPC, so instead of replacing loot, it simply offers additional loot. Now acquiring all these companions and then unlocking their keepsakes was no small feat. In fact, this took me weeks of grinding, hence why this video has taken so long to make. In order to get a companion's keepsake, I had to unlock that companion, max out their level, max out their rapport, and complete achievements specific to their keepsake. Each companion has different likes and dislikes, so I had to be careful what I did with each companion each day. Using Miri as an example, I would complete a Fighters Guild daily quest and a Vvardenfell daily quest every single day, in addition to the personal quests that she offered along the way, all in the attempt to level up her rapport at a reasonable pace. That doesn't sound all that bad until you consider that I was juggling this with 4 companions simultaneously. 8 daily tasks every single day was no small feat, and that's just for the rapport side of things. As for the leveling side of things, I initially relied on the zombie loop in Alakar Desert for a while. That is until I discovered a god-tier leveling spot in the Malabor Tor public dungeon. This place was absolutely incredible for XP. The whole dungeon is basically one small loop, and by the time I reached where I started, everything was completely respawned. I spent way too much time in this location grinding mobs for XP to level these 4 companions, but luckily I had a few buddies join me on occasion to keep me company. They were mostly there to leech XP, and insult me, but I still felt loved. Once the rapport and leveling was complete with all of these companions, all that was left was to complete a few specific achievements. Completing these was by far the easiest part of this entire process, and before I knew it, I had all 4 of my chosen companions' keepsakes. I could acquire hidden bags from chests, lockpick more efficiently, discover research portfolios from containers, and pull an occasional hidden wallet while pickpocketing, all completely passive. Best of all, I didn't have to have a single companion out with me, which was great. I mean, let's face it, these 4 fucking suck, and Boondock is the only companion that a Khajiit needs. Aside from Keldora, she can stay. She's got that passive of sucking dick. So Scribing has very little to do with thieving, and kind of took my journey off the rails for a short time, so I'll do my best to keep it brief. Basically, Scribing was introduced with the latest Gold Road DLC, and allows players to make their own abilities in the game. Now, I did next to no research on how the system actually worked, or what was possible before diving in. But I knew I was going to fully progress it regardless of what it offered to my thieving skills, so I did it anyways. All of the quests in this skill line were incredibly long, boring, and repetitive. Basically, I had to locate keys that unlocked a door that introduced me to a luminary that sent me on a random quest across the game to be awarded their power to slowly gain bound script and luminous ink to craft skills on each of my characters. If that sounds overly convoluted and complex for no reason whatsoever, it's because it was. Those mother bitches over there! This quest line was pure cancer. The only saving grace were the few moments where my buddies would just happen to say something absurd as I was speaking to a luminary, which made it seem like the luminary said it, which led to moments like this.
Suck a dick and fuck a dick and put a dick in my mouth. Oh, goddamn motherfucker.
Now, I did find a bound script called Thief Swiftness at one point, which really got my juices flowing, but alas, it was pretty useless and offered nothing for thieving. I tinkered with the scribing system for days, coming up with new abilities, some of which are really fucking sweet, don't get me wrong, but none of them have anything to do with thieving. I thought it best to include this in the video though, because a lot of these abilities are on my bar for a majority of the clips that I've shown. Plus, if they ever expand on this system and it does become relevant to thieving, I'm one step ahead of the competition. Or like 400 behind, considering when this expansion released. Either way, it's Cowl, I'm Cowl, you're Cowl, moving on. In my crazy escapades across Tamriel, I happened to stumble across this item just chilling on this desk. It's a good thing that I don't play golf, because I couldn't fight the urge to leave it where it lies, and I'm glad that I didn't. With a bit of investigating, I came to find out that this item was part of a whole series of items that could be collected and turned into the Thieves Guild. Collecting all of these awards an achievement, a memento, and a fancy new title, that title being Master Thief. Once I discovered this title existed and I didn't have it, I knew that I had to have it. I took the time to track down every single item on this list to complete the achievement and unlock the Coin of Illusionary Riches, which is this sweet new emote that is so freaking thiefy I can't believe I never knew about it. Best of all, I got this sweet-ass title that sets me apart from all the other wannabe thieves out there. There can be only one Master Thief, and it's me. And everyone else who completed the achievement. And Boondock, of course, but that goes without saying. I wonder what Keldora's doing right now. So now it was time to put it all together. I had new gear, I had new account upgrades, I had new abilities that didn't really matter, and I had a fancy new title and memento. All I needed now was a new method. I had looted the treasure chests, I had picked the pockets, I had harvested the harvests. So what could I possibly do to change the game and make thieving viable again? Well, with all the new changes to my build, knowledge of the account upgrades I had acquired, and a little bit of research into the market, I settled on one initial goal: acquiring a Velothi painting. You see, there's a series of paintings that can only be pickpocketed or looted from safe boxes in Vvardenfell. These paintings are worth a fucking fortune, partly because they're really rare, and partly because no one wants to spend the time to acquire them. No one except a Master Thief, that is. But this Master Thief doesn't just rush into a heist unprepared. No, that would be like a spear without a head. Absolutely pointless. I needed to plan this out like a heist, uncovering the most efficient route and means to achieve my goal. Using a bit of in-game knowledge and a whole lot of help from the Harvest Map add-on, I was able to plot a loop that hit every single safe box in Vvardenfell, ensuring the highest possible chances of getting one of these rare paintings. Best of all, the loop would fully reset by the time I completed it, meaning I could endlessly run this thing if I wanted to. The full run took about 30 minutes, which included pickpocketing and eliminating all of the NPCs and looting all the containers inside of the buildings. Most of the time, though, I simply stuck to the safe boxes, which dropped each run down to about 16 minutes. I ran this loop religiously, every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, all in the hopes of getting my little cat paws on one of those paintings. I mean, it was only a matter of time, right? All of those grinds and countless Vvardenfell loops were worth it, as I raked in 2 of the biggest paychecks I had ever seen before. These 2 paintings alone were worth more than the entire pool of money I had accumulated in past videos. To say that I was stoked is an understatement. As the kids would say, I was fucking lit, bro. The only problem was this profit was highly inconsistent. Sure, the number was high, but it took me an ungodly amount of runs to eventually luck out and pull these paintings. Plus, there was the problem of actually selling them. Items like these don't move fast, as it takes a very specific player with a very specific need at a very specific time with a boatload of cash to spend it on them. At the time of writing the script for this video and recording the voiceover, I still haven't sold either of these paintings. I'll make sure to update my pinned comment down below to let you guys know if I was eventually successful or not. So with Vvardenfell being highly profitable but inconsistent, I was forced to find another means of thieving to make money. I wanted a method that was more consistent with guaranteed money, with the probability of also pulling in valuable items to bump up the gold per hour. After a bit more research, I discovered this place in Galen called Malthio's house. This place was incredible. There are 3 NPCs located inside that could be pickpocketed for loot, but that's not the reason I came here. Do you recall earlier in the video when I said I slept on a Xander? Not physically, of course, I don't swing that way, but rather I underestimated his ability. Well, this is where I began to discover its true potential. You see, research portfolios can be randomly obtained from any container in the game, even ones you steal from. This house in Galen just so happened to have a boatload of containers, and best of all, the whole instance would reset as soon as I leave, meaning I could run this thing endlessly for loot, valuable blueprints, and research portfolios. To reiterate, these things could contain additional loot, treasure maps, survey maps, counterfeit pardons, and best of all, blueprints! Having a Xander's passive here was an absolute game changer, as it was maximizing my chances of receiving a blueprint. Now the blueprints here weren't nearly as valuable as the paintings in Vvardenfell, but they were far more common and always sold, making them a much more reliable source of income. To truly test this method out, I decided to run this Galen Loop 6 different times for 10 minutes each, or an hour in total if you have Boondock's math skills. On screen now is the total amount of gold that I made with each run, and with a little bit more math, I could extrapolate out that this method is approximately 243,000 gold per hour. For the record, this estimate is completely RNG dependent and doesn't include me pulling any really valuable blueprints, so the number could be much higher or much lower if I were to test this for longer periods of time. There's also the matter of blueprint cooldowns, which seems to be this mixed bag of confusion within the community. Some say cooldowns occur per blueprint quality, with the length of those cooldowns being all over the place. Some say these cooldowns are per character, while others say it's account-wide. I'm sure that someone out there has tested this enough to figure out the most optimal means to go about farming blueprints, but my time was limited each day anyways, so I felt like I was pretty safe doing what I was doing. And so began the Galen Loop era. I ran this house so many times and got so incredibly efficient that I could clear it in 30 seconds flat. What you're seeing on screen now is not sped up footage. It's simply a proficient anthropomorphic cat going about his business. I would later discover that this same method of looting a house and re-entering it to reset the instance could be applied in some other places as well. Places like Fargrave, Blackwood, and Telvanni Peninsula. While I couldn't find any rhyme or reason as to which instance could be reset versus others, I did notice that the ones that could be reset would tend to have a very slight loading screen. But this wasn't always the case, so my own testing breaks my own theory. Regardless, I had just found my new favorite way to thieve in ESO. Some small amount of gold was guaranteed from fencing items, with larger chunks of gold coming from blueprints always being within arm's reach. With enough persistence, dedication, and thinking outside the box, I was able to turn my empty pod Khajiit into a gold-mongering tycoon, or tycat, to be more specific. I was seeing streams of gold flowing into my bank account like I had never seen before, all because I was able to pivot with the changes and learn to thieve in a different way. And that, my dear viewers, is a beautiful conclusion to this thieving story. This series has been a passion project of mine for over 4 years now, and who knows where else the journey might take me. I doubt this is the final chapter in Chichichicheetah's story, but only time will tell. Regardless of what the future holds, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to leave me a like down below, subscribe to the channel with notifications on to stay up to date on all of my latest content, join the Discord for a community of like-minded woodland creatures, and please keep leaving me comments because they warm my little Bunneh heart. A special thank you goes out to all of the Bunnehs that support me on Patreon. You guys are amazing and made this video possible with your monthly donations. If you would like to support the channel and the content that I create, you can now do so for as little as $1 a month. As promised, here's a quick summary of Chichichicheetah's current gear setup, champion point allocation, important active abilities, relevant passives, and important add-ons if you're a PC player.